if you're a financial advisor or really anyone in business for that matter, and you're using a platform, for this case, we're obviously going to call it a social media platform, but if you're using a social media platform, a platform that you are intending to use to grow your business, to drive new conversations with your ideal prospects, the people that you want to work with, I cannot understand for the life of me why you would engage in conversations surrounding likes, comments, views, engagement, growth, and drivers, because that shows up in the feeds of those people that you want to work with you and them seeing you using that platform in a way that is not to benefit them, but yet you're consumed with growing this brand or handle you have is so out of line with why you're there in the first place. I can't understand why people can't grasp that and why they go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think there's to some extent a lack of awareness between what is seen and what's not seen, right? I mean, you have to think that anything that you put in the feed could show up in your ideal client's feed, right? And like, I mean, that should be like how you think about everything that you put out into social media. And if it's not something that you would really want your ideal prospect, ideal client to see, then that's probably not the format to be dropping those comments because they are counterproductive. And I truly believe that there is a great majority of financial advisors that just from a business growth standpoint would have been better off had they never touched social media.
I agree with that. Let's take this a step further. The election's less than a week away. Thank God. I'm ready to put this all behind us. And I don't,
We're
this
going to
is,
do this is our preview. This is our
no,
election preview
this is
episode.
just no, this is, by the time people see this, it will have happened already. But this is no judgment to whomever or whatever side of the aisle you're on. But people who are looking to attract new business, you do, and now this is whether you care or not, and maybe some people don't care and they say, I don't give a shit. Fine. But you do have to be mindful of, are you liking, engaging, and commenting on things that might be construed as pro this or pro that, or anti this or anti that? So we're taking it even a step farther than someone going on social media and worrying about how popular they are, which I think is just kind of immature and gross anyways, frankly. Like, you're a middle-aged professional looking to take on the assets of folks out there and manage them and bring in and the most important thing to them, which is the money that they've worked so hard to earn. And then you're like also in the same breath worried about how popular you are. I think that's just egregious. But the second point is people do need to be mindful. Like, if you like, comment, engage in all this other stuff, people see it. And maybe you don't care, but maybe you do care or should care.
Maybe your ideal clients prospects care. I mean, back when I would routinely have to interview people, I mean, that would be one of the first things that I would do is I would go and look at their social media profiles and just get an idea of you probably had a pretty good idea of who you're going to be working with based upon their activity on their social media profiles as opposed to what they're going to say on an interview. I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to be on their best. They're going to be on their best behavior for the 45 minutes or whatever they are with you in an interview. But
Right. And then on Twitter, they're just a terrible human. You're like, well, someone's got to give
right,
here. Yeah.
right, everything that you put out there, your mom can see. I mean, that's the way social media works today. I mean, think about how many tweets and stuff that have been unearthed from 8, 10, 12 years ago, that have, severely damaged people's reputation and things like that. So we have to be really, really careful about it. But as financial advisors, financial planners trying to grow by the utilization of some of these wonderful platforms that we have access to today, you don't want to do anything to shoot yourself in the foot that is going to, not even just keep you flat, but potentially cost you clients, which I still believe that a good portion of people are really costing themselves business just by showing up on these platforms.
Because not even on a serious note, political views or anything like that, but back to the first thought that I had was that you're literally just kind of being immature out there.
Yeah, very childish, immature. I mean, it's one thing to create content that's just not good enough, right? I mean, we've talked about that. There's a huge chasm, I think, between what is good enough and what most people are putting out there. But just the, childish immaturity, the, playing the games for likes and stuff like that. I happened to notice that there was a couple of advisors that, the moment they post, they immediately have a pretty decent amount of likes. And it's the same people like that's that, like good for them, 20 minutes after they post, they have 70 likes or whatever. And like the same people were commenting on all of their posts. I was like, I'm not going to give any light to this one person's name, but I was like, you know what? I mean, who is this person? So I clicked on his profile, and basically he said that he creates communities to expand reach. It's like, oh, it's a growth pod, and
This is
it's a bunch of people that just play that game. And to your point, like there's going to be a day LinkedIn's going to flip that switch.
it's coming. And this is funny. I had a few conversations this week with new prospects who've turned into clients, two new clients coming on board, very psyched about it. Can't wait to work with them. And they both asked the question, and which I think all of my clients should be asking, and all of you should be asking, period, is how do we measure success? And I said, we're going to measure success by the conversations you're having, and you're just going to have to be honest with me about it. But we're not going to measure success based on the metrics, which is something that you and I have talked about in the past because it's riggable and gameable based on what you just said, right? And that's really hard for a lot of advisors because to your point, like they want a binary, number to look at to say this is good or it isn't. And unfortunately, that's not the way it is. And it's counterintuitive, using your words, to an advisor's kind of hardwiring.
Yeah, and if I post something and you as a financial advisor feel compelled to comment on it or you have something to add to the conversation, by all means do so. I don't, you know, I'll start there. But at the same point, I'll also say that if I never got a like or comment from another financial advisor for the rest of my life on any of the content that I created, I would be okay with that too. Because I don't care. Like, does it help propel it forward in some degree? Probably. But at the end of the day, to your point, the only thing that really matters is, are we filling our pipeline with people that want our help and that we have the ability to help? So are the right people finding the message in a way that can help us grow our business and help us help a large number of people? That's all that matters.
It is all that matters. And to your point, of course, your friends and colleagues, and that feels good and it's nice for your friends to pat you on the back once in a while. That's great. That's not what this is about. This is more about like, I just wish I could sit down with people and get them to be a little bit more direct and tunnel visioned with their plan, right? That's really what it comes down to. Like, what's your plan? You just want to sit here on these programs and platforms and see the notification bell ring? I mean, that's fine, but that's not a that's not a growth plan.
The notification bill has not paid any bills in the Nielsen household.
No, nor will it. Until you get to, I mean, I guess if you want to try to ratchet that up to become an influencer, maybe there's some brand deals there. But that was just my one rant of like, this is just, it's actually an anti-business building activity, what you're doing. And you think you're working. It's kind of crazy to think about. It's like you've justified to yourself that what you're doing is work, and it's actually anti-work. It's doing you more harm than good, to your point. Like you should have literally just gone outside and raked leaves.
Yeah. And another, thing that I think is very important on any of the social platforms for advisors, and I think we take this for granted. And this came up in a conversation that I had with someone who's affiliated with LPL. And I said, honestly, I didn't even know you were a financial advisor. I've seen your stuff on Instagram. I just assumed you were like a finfluencer who made money writing blogs or whatever. Like, if you don't tell people that you're a financial advisor, that you do financial plans for XYZ, like people just don't assume that today because there are so many just finfluencers creating content on social media. Nobody knows that you're actually like a legit financial planner, have certificates helping households. You have to tell people that or leave some very specific breadcrumbs to lead people to that conclusion. But in today's day and age, I don't think we can take it as a matter of fact that everybody that's on social is indeed a financial advisor who's sitting down face to face, one on one with families.
I love that. Totally agree with you. This whole thing has just lulled so many people into a a kind of a lullaby, if you will. It's almost like people are taking naps out there, not thinking through, why am I doing this in the first place? Why am I allocating my time to this, spending money on this? Like, what's the point? And if you lose sight of that, it's very easy just to become another, scroller and contributor to the noise.
Yeah. And you got to be really careful on copying people who are the influencer types because they are getting paid based upon consumption of the video. Financial advisors are not getting paid in that way,
Yeah,
right?
that's
So
huge,
you
right?
you can copy the most successful people on the planet who are influencers, and you could be really good at it. And I know, one person comes in my head who I told them really good at it, but you're not capturing anything that's putting food on the table. You're not doing anything that's actually sitting down with someone face to improving their financial life.
This is another big one. And folks who are listening and not watching on YouTube, you're going to miss kind of my expression here. But I've run into a lot of folks who some have become clients, some haven't. They've just maybe been calls or conversations that didn't work out. But they've kind of picked my brain a little bit on the YouTube thumbnail direction and idea and questioned why I haven't or pushed some of my clients to go into the a little bit more exaggerated thumbnails with the giant face, mouth open, reacting like there's an explosion taking place behind me, right? The Mr. Beast style thumbnail. And to your point, and what I say back to them is you guys have to understand their entire job is to generate a view there, right? Mr. Beast and all these folks at the top are literally just trying to generate a view in which you view it and they're going to hook you on it. They're not trying to generate a client to call them and move over $1.2 million. And I need you to be taken a little bit more serious than someone who's literally just trying to get the entire world to click it.
Yeah, and you have to be really, really careful, who you follow and the processes that you put in place. And we've talked about it before. I think one of the best things that you can do as a financial advisor is keep your circle really, really small. Because the more people you let into that inner circle, I think the easier it is to get into the habits of shiny object syndrome. Well, they added this, my buddy just added Holistiplan. Did you know that Jill just added Income Lab? The guy down the street has Right Capital, eMoney, and Money Guide Pro, and he uses each one for specifically different reasons. And so now we're gonna review every one of our households, and we're going to try to create an algorithm to figure out which client gets which financial planning software.
Guys, he's speaking tongue in cheek here.
It's disgusting.
I don't, Nick's not actually doing that.
No, no,
Uh,
but that's happening everywhere.
it
Right. I
is.
mean,
And
you have to be so careful about who you let into your inner circle and who you get advice from because people mean well, but they don't understand your situation or what you're trying to do.
or they just have their own bad habit and they're playing Office in their own manner and you copy them. Now you're playing the same version of Office and it's just two people doing, kind of exacerbating a bad habit. Brings me to another point. If I had $1 for every advisor that came to me and said, I must do, my business needs to replicate what it is Nic Nielsen and Know My Plan are doing. If I had $1 for every one of those, I mean, I guess it'd be an exaggeration to say I'd be retired, but I'd have a few extra bucks in my back pocket. I hear it a lot.
You get a few packs of cards,
Yeah, I'd probably get a couple pairs of sneakers. Uh,
get
um,
Nikes.
the follow up question or the follow up is I'd lay out for them what it takes, what Nick does, and this is from my perspective. You would even have a more in depth approach to it, because you'd have to apply the whole financial planning side to it. I lay out all the activity, all the dedication, all the things you commit to. I give them the blueprint. And it's really not that complicated. It's literally just a list of 5 to 8 things that they just have to do and dedicate themselves to doing. And then the next the next thing I hear is kind of like a deflated Diet Coke version of, all right, well, I'm thinking maybe I'll just try this one.
The a la carte version. They don't realize it's a combo meal.
It takes it all.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because it's like they jump on excited. I'm excited for them. They ask for the blueprint. I give them the blueprint. It's free. I tell them exactly what to do. And no one, for some reason, is capable, able, or willing to do it, even though it's life changing.